I thought I had a good marriage. My wife, Jessica, and I had been together for nearly 8 years, and while we weren't perfect, things seemed to be cruising along just fine. We lived in a cozy house in a quiet neighborhood, both of us working hard to build our careers. Jessica had recently started a new job with a marketing firm, and I could see how much she loved it. But as her late-night work calls became more frequent, I began to sense a shift. Looking back now, I realized those little changes in her behavior should have raised red flags. She started dressing a bit differently, more provocative if I'm being honest. She'd spend hours in front of the mirror before heading out, and I'd find myself wondering if it was all just for me. I tried to brush the thoughts aside. Maybe she was just trying to impress her new coworkers. But deep down, I felt something was off. The final straw came when Jessica announced she'd need to go on a business trip. It was a last-minute thing, she said, and she'd be gone for 3 days. I remember feeling a mix of support for her, career and a nagging sense of unease. The whole thing felt so rushed. I kissed her goodbye and wished her luck, but in my gut, something didn't feel right. While she was supposedly away, I found myself looking after our dog, Max. The first night after she left, I settled in with a movie, trying to distract myself. But I kept glancing at my phone, half expecting a text from her. Instead, I just saw the usual social media notifications. Jessica had even posted a photo of her work setup at the hotel, a generic picture of a laptop with a notepad and coffee. I wanted to trust her, but something gnawed at me. Then came the day I decided to check the GPS on her car, just out of curiosity. I was in the kitchen and Max was chewing on his toy when I logged into the app. What I saw sent a chill down my spine. Jessica hadn't left the city. Her car had been parked at a coffee shop downtown for hours. I felt nauseous. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe she had a meeting that got canceled, but my gut screamed that it was more than that. The next day, I took matters into my own hands. I told a couple of my buddies that I'd be out for a while, and I drove to that coffee shop. It was a gut-wrenching journey, but I needed answers. As I approached the cafe, I spotted her car. My heart raced. I parked a little way down the street and waited, praying I wouldn't see what I feared. And then I saw her. Jessica stepped out of the cafe, but she wasn't alone. No, she was with another man. They laughed together, and I felt the blood drain from my face. This wasn't just a friendly meeting. The way they leaned in close together, sharing whispers and stealing glances, told me everything I needed to know. My hands clenched around the steering wheel, rage and heartbreak colliding inside me. I couldn't just sit there. I had to confront her. All the loving memories flashed through my mind like a movie reel, but they soon darkened with betrayal. I drove home, feeling a swirling storm of emotions. That evening, when she returned, I confronted her. I wanted to appear calm, but my heart raced as she walked through the door, seemingly none the wiser. I chose my words carefully, trying to hide my fury. "Jessica, can we talk?" Her reaction was surprising. She looked at me with an innocent expression, but that facade crumbled as soon as I dropped the bombshell. "I saw you at the coffee shop with someone. Care to explain?" Her face turned ashen, and for a moment I felt a twisted sense of satisfaction. She tried to deny it, of course. "You must be mistaken. I was at a meeting." She stammered, but the fear in her eyes told a different story. As she rattled off excuses that barely held water, I felt a mix of anger and heartbreak. I stared at her, searching for the woman I thought I knew. Instead, I saw someone who had shattered the foundation of our relationship. Her words became a blur as I struggled with a flood of emotions: betrayal, sadness, and a fierce desire for revenge. My mind raced, contemplating the path that lay ahead. I felt like I was standing on the edge of a precipice, facing the unknown of what my life might look like after this moment. This was just the beginning of a spiral into chaos, and I had no idea how deep it would go. But I knew one thing for certain: this was not the end of my story. After that confrontation, things spiraled quickly. Jessica's initial shock morphed into anger, and she began to throw accusations at me. The woman I once loved transformed into someone I barely recognized. "You're just being paranoid. You don't trust me," she yelled, her tone venomous. I felt a mix of disbelief and rage. The audacity of her to turn this around on me was infuriating. As she continued to defend herself, I felt my heart hardening. It was like a switch flipped inside me, and the love I had for her began to feel distant, overshadowed by the betrayal. I realized then that I didn't just want answers. I wanted to make her feel the pain I was experiencing. I wanted her to understand the weight of her lies and the shattering of the life we had built together. The days that followed were a blur of emotions. I hardly slept, the images of her with that man replaying in my mind like a nightmare I couldn't escape. I spent hours contemplating my next move, my mind racing with thoughts of revenge. I wanted her to know that she couldn't get away with this. This wasn't just a fling, this was a brutal betrayal. After a few sleepless nights, I decided to gather evidence. I needed to know the full extent of her deception. I started following her, albeit discreetly. It felt like I was living a double life, hiding my pain behind a mask of normalcy. I would go to work, act as if nothing was wrong, and then spend my evenings tracking her every move. Each time I spotted her, my heart would race, but it also fueled my determination. One Friday evening, I saw her laughing with that man again, a different one this time, at a swanky restaurant on the other side of town. I sat at the bar, nursing a drink, feeling like a voyeur in my own life. They shared intimate whispers and exchanged touches that made my stomach churn. I snapped a few pictures secretly, documenting her betrayal. Each click of the camera felt like a knife to my heart, but it also empowered me. I was collecting my arsenal for the inevitable showdown. That night when she came home, I decided to confront her again. My heart raced, filled with a mix of adrenaline and rage. I called her into the living room where I had laid out the photos on the coffee table. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steady despite the storm brewing inside me. She walked in, her usual confidence faltering as she saw the pictures scattered before her. "What is this?" she asked, her voice laced with disbelief. "I think it's pretty clear what it is, Jessica. I've seen you with other men." "Don't even try to deny it," I said, my voice rising slightly. Rage coursed through my veins as I watched her face drop, the color draining away. She stammered, trying to come up with excuses. "Those are just friends, you're overreacting." But I was done listening to her lies. "Friends, is that what you call them?" I gestured to the photos, each one a testament to her deceit. "You've been cheating on me, and you expect me to just accept your pathetic excuses." Her eyes narrowed, and suddenly she shifted into defense mode. "You've changed. You're never home. Maybe if you paid more attention to me, I wouldn't have to look elsewhere." At that moment, I felt a surge of anger, but I also felt a hollow sadness. The woman I fell in love with was gone, replaced by someone who would use any excuse to justify her actions. I had tried to be a good husband, supporting her through everything, but this was beyond betrayal. Looking at her, I realized I was done. I wasn't going to fight for someone who clearly didn't care. I took a deep breath, summoning whatever calm I could muster. "You know what? I'm not going to waste any more of my time on you. You've made your choices. Now it's my turn to make mine." The confrontation ended with a silence that felt suffocating. I turned away from her, feeling a strange mix of relief and heartache. I had finally put my foot down, but the reality of my marriage crumbling around me felt surreal. I could barely wrap my head around the idea of starting over, but I knew I couldn't stay in this toxic environment. That night, I sat on the edge of our bed, staring into space, trying to process everything. My emotions were all over the place: anger, betrayal, sadness, and even a sense of liberation. I realized that I had spent too long trying to salvage a sinking ship when I should have been focused on my own well-being. I fell into a restless sleep, my dreams filled with chaos and betrayal. The morning light illuminated the reality of my situation. I had to decide what to do next. Would I confront her one last time? Would I pack my things and leave? Or would I seek revenge in ways that would make her fully understand the consequences of her actions? The thought of revenge tantalized me, but deep down, I knew I needed to focus on my healing first. I needed to rebuild my life, away from the lies that had consumed me. The path ahead was uncertain, but I had to take the first step. I wasn't just a victim, I was a man who deserved better. The reality of my situation hit me like a freight train. I spent the next few days in a haze, feeling like I was watching my life unfold from a distance. Work became a distraction, a place where I could channel my anger into productivity, But every time I returned home, the weight of betrayal would crash down on me. I needed a plan, and I needed it fast. As I sat in my small office at work, a thought struck me like lightning. I could use the evidence I had gathered not only to confront Jessica, but to show her the consequences of her actions in a way that would make her truly feel the gravity of her betrayal. I imagined her face when she realized that I had not only caught her but was ready to expose her lies. My heart raced at the prospect, and for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt a flicker of empowerment. That weekend, I dedicated myself to compiling all the evidence, photos, timestamps, and even text messages I had saved from her phone. I felt like a detective piecing together a case against a criminal, and it was exhilarating. I printed everything out, organizing it in a folder, and rehearsed what I would say to her. My stomach churned with a mix of anxiety and anger, but I was determined to confront her one last time. When I finally faced Jessica, again, I felt a calmness I hadn't experienced before. I invited her to sit down, a smirk of confidence creeping onto my face as I placed the folder in front of her. "Let's talk," I said, and her eyes widened as she realized what was coming. "What's all this?" she asked, her voice dripping with suspicion as she reached for the folder. I watched her expression change as she flipped through the pages, each photo and message acting like a dagger plunging deeper into her facade. "You think you can lie to me and get away with it? You've been seeing multiple men and I have the proof," I said, my voice steady. She tried to feign innocence, her voice shaky as she claimed, "Those are just friends. I told you I'm not cheating on you." But I could see the panic in her eyes as she realized how thoroughly I had caught her. "Friends? You've been lying to me for months, Jessica. I trusted you. You promised we would always be honest with each other. And what did you do? You went out with other men, while making me feel guilty for wanting to spend time with you," I spat back, the anger boiling to the surface. She fell silent, her bravado crumbling, and for a moment I almost felt sorry for her. But then the reality of her actions washed over me again, hardening my resolve. "You think this is going to blow over? You think I'm just going to forget about this?" Jessica's eyes darted around, searching for a way out, a way to manipulate the situation back in her favor. "This isn't what it looks like. I was just confused. I didn't mean to hurt you," she pleaded, her voice rising in desperation. "Confused? You're not being honest. You don't get to play the victim here. You made choices and now it's time to face the consequences," I said, feeling the weight of the words settle in the air between us. I could see her fighting back tears, but I was done with the tears and drama. I wanted her to understand that there was no going back. "I'm not interested in patching things up. I want a divorce," I stated, my heart racing but my voice steady. The words hung in the air, heavy and final. Jessica broke down, the facade shattering completely. "You can't be serious. We can work through this. We can go to counseling. Just give me a chance." But I was resolute. "You've shown me who you really are. I can't be in a relationship built on lies and deceit. I deserve better." The confrontation ended in a flurry of tears and accusations, but I stood firm. I felt an unexpected sense of closure as I walked away from the chaos. I had finally taken control of my life, and the anger that had consumed me began to dissipate, replaced by a bittersweet mixture of sadness and relief. In the days that followed, the reality of my decision began to sink in. I started the process of separation, reaching out to a lawyer to get the ball rolling on the divorce. It felt surreal to think that my life, once so intertwined with Jessica's, was now headed down a completely different path. I also began to focus on myself, rediscovering hobbies and interests that I had neglected during our marriage. I took long hikes with Max, visited friends more often, and even started cooking again. I wanted to remind myself of who I was before Jessica, to reclaim my identity outside of our tumultuous relationship. As the weeks passed, I found pieces of my old self returning. I began to embrace the notion of freedom, realizing that I was no longer tethered to her lies. But the anger from her betrayal still simmered beneath the surface. I wanted justice, a small part of me still yearning for that revenge I had once fantasized about. I started to tell my close friends what had happened, seeking comfort and support. They were shocked, rallying around me like a protective shield, encouraging me to focus on my future. The more I talked about it, the more I realized how much I had been holding in. It dawned on me that I needed to move forward, not just for my sake, but for my mental health. I began to focus on healing, attending therapy sessions where I could explore my emotions more deeply. I learned about forgiveness, not for Jessica's sake, but for my own peace of mind. I was starting to recognize that the pain of betrayal would fade with time, replaced by hope for new beginnings. My heart still ached, but I was determined to embrace whatever came next. I wanted to emerge from this stronger, wiser, and prepared to love again whenever that might happen. As I settled into my new routine, I felt a strange mix of emotions: grief for what I had lost, anger for what had been stolen from me, and a budding excitement for the future. I was ready to take the next step, whatever that might entail. As the divorce process moved forward, I began to appreciate the small victories in my new life. I'd wake up each morning feeling a little lighter, and I started to see the world through a different lens. Each day was an opportunity to reclaim my life, and I found solace in the routines I created. I leaned into my friendships, spending time with my buddies who had been there for me from the beginning. They helped me navigate through the emotional turmoil, offering laughter and camaraderie that reminded me of the joy in life. We'd have game nights, go out for drinks, and hit the trails on weekends. Each laugh felt like a balm to my wounded heart, but even with all the support, I still found myself haunted by memories of Jessica. There were moments, small things, really, that would send me spiraling back into the pain of betrayal. The smell of her favorite perfume lingered in our home, and I could still hear her laughter echoing in the spaces we once shared. I began to realize that healing wasn't a straight path. It was a winding road filled with ups and downs. Then came the day I received the official papers for the divorce in the mail. As I opened the envelope, I felt a wave of conflicting emotions wash over me, relief mixed with a bittersweet sadness. This chapter of my life was coming to a close, and I couldn't help but reflect on the dreams and plans we had once shared. That evening, I found myself scrolling through old photos on my phone, looking at the happier times, our vacations, family gatherings, and spontaneous adventures. It felt like a different lifetime, and I had to remind myself that those moments were clouded by the betrayal that followed. But no matter how painful it was, I knew I had to look forward. I decided to focus on self-improvement, diving into activities that brought me joy and fulfillment. I signed up for a cooking class, something I had always wanted to do, and it felt liberating to learn new skills and meet new people. I felt alive again, free from the constraints of my past. During those months, something unexpected happened. I met someone new. Her name was Sarah, a fellow classmate in my cooking course. She was warm, funny, and had a zest for life that drew me in. We became friends first, bonding over our love for food and our shared experiences of heartbreak. The first time we cooked together, I felt a spark of excitement I hadn't felt in a long time. We laughed and joked as we chopped vegetables and stirred sauces, and for the first time since the betrayal, I found myself forgetting the pain Jessica had caused. It was refreshing to connect with someone who was kind and genuine. As we spent more time together, I began to notice how my heart gradually opened up again. I hadn't expected it, but Sarah made me feel safe. We shared our stories, our struggles, and our hopes for the future. She encouraged me to keep pushing forward, reminding me that I was worthy of love and happiness. One evening, after a cooking class, we found ourselves sitting on a park bench, the sun setting behind the trees. As we talked, something shifted between us. The air was charged with a palpable energy, and I could feel my pulse quicken. It was the moment I realized I was ready to let go of the past and embrace the future. "Can I say something?" I asked, feeling nervous yet excited. "I really enjoy spending time with you, and I feel like we've built a strong connection." Sarah smiled back at me, her eyes sparkling. "I feel the same way. It's been refreshing to meet someone who understands what we've both been through." We shared a moment of silence, the weight of our pasts lingering in the air. Then I took a leap of faith, leaning in closer. "Would you want to maybe go out on a proper date, just the two of us?" Her smile widened, and I felt a rush of relief wash over me. "I'd love that," she replied. As we exchanged numbers, I felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. I was ready to step into this new chapter of my life, but the shadows of my past lingered just beneath the surface. In the following weeks, Sarah and I started to explore the city together. We visited farmers' markets, tried new restaurants, and even cooked together more often. With each outing, I felt more alive, as if I was shedding the weight of my former life. But the fear of potential heartbreak loomed over me. I found myself hesitating at times, worried that I might be repeating the same mistakes of the past. I would catch myself pulling back emotionally, afraid to let someone in again. One evening, as we sat on her balcony enjoying a bottle of wine, Sarah looked at me with a seriousness I hadn't expected. "I can sense that you're holding back sometimes," she said gently. "You can trust me, you know." Her words hit me hard, and I realized that I had to be honest with her. I took a deep breath, feeling vulnerable. "You're right. I'm scared. I loved and trusted someone, and it ended in betrayal. I'm trying to find a way to move on, but it's not easy." She reached out, taking my hand in hers. "I understand you don't have to rush into anything. Take your time with me. I'm not going anywhere." In that moment, I felt a flicker of hope and warmth. Maybe it was possible to find love again, even after such a painful experience. I knew I had to confront my fears and allow myself to be vulnerable again. As our relationship grew, I also focused on the upcoming divorce proceedings. I made sure to keep everything as amicable as possible, even reaching out to Jessica for a final conversation about the divorce settlement. It was a difficult meeting, but I approached it with a sense of closure. Jessica sat across from me, looking different, almost broken. "I never meant to hurt you," she said, her voice softer than I'd heard in a long time. "I know you didn't, but it happened. We can't change the past. I'm ready to move on," I replied, trying to keep my emotions in check. We discussed the practicalities of the divorce, and as we parted ways, I felt a sense of closure wash over me. I was finally letting go of the remnants of our relationship, with Sarah by my side and the divorce behind me. I began to look toward the future with a renewed sense of hope. I was ready to embrace whatever came next, understanding that the journey toward healing was just as important as the destination. I found comfort in the idea that love could be found again, even after betrayal. And as I moved forward, I was committed to embracing every moment, ready to live life fully and authentically. As the weeks turned into months, life began to feel more balanced. The chaos of my divorce faded into the background, and I settled into a routine that incorporated both my newfound relationship with Sarah and my personal growth journey. I felt like I was finally stepping into my own skin again, free from the weight of betrayal. Sarah and I continued to explore our connection. Every date brought new laughter and moments of joy, and it felt organic and refreshing. We shared our dreams, our fears, and the stories of our pasts, creating a foundation built on honesty and trust. She never pressured me to rush into anything, allowing me the space I needed to heal. One night, as we cooked dinner together in her cozy apartment, I caught myself stealing glances at her as she danced around the kitchen, humming to the music playing softly in the background. It struck me just how different this was from my life with Jessica. I felt light-hearted and at ease, free to be myself. "This is nice," I said, stirring the sauce we were preparing. "I can't remember the last time I felt this happy." Sarah paused, turning to face me with that warm smile that seemed to melt my worries away. "I'm glad to hear that. I want you to feel safe here with me." Her words resonated deeply within me. I realized that with Sarah, I wasn't just putting a Band-Aid over my wounds. I was genuinely healing. It was in those moments that I understood the difference between simply moving on and truly allowing myself to be open to love again. However, as the divorce settlement was finalized and the paperwork was signed, I felt an unexpected wave of emotions crash over me. The finality of it all was daunting, and I couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness for what my life with Jessica could have been if things had gone differently. That evening, after a long day, I confided in Sarah about my feelings. "I know I should be jumping for joy, but there's a part of me that feels lost. It's like saying goodbye to a version of my life that I had hoped would be different." She placed her hand on mine, looking understanding and compassionate. It's okay to feel that way. You invested so much into that relationship, and it's natural to grieve the loss of that dream, even if it was shattered. Just remember that you are not defined by that past. Her reassurance soothed me, and I took a deep breath, feeling grateful for her presence. We talked late into the night, sharing stories that reminded us both of our resilience. By the end of the conversation, I felt lighter, like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. With the divorce now behind me, I went through my belongings, sorting through memories of my life with Jessica. I discovered old photographs, letters, and little mementos that had once held so much meaning. I hesitated, unsure of what to do with them. Should I keep them as a reminder of my journey, or should I get rid of them entirely? In the end, I decided to create a small box. I placed everything inside, labeling it the past. I wanted to acknowledge my journey without allowing it to consume me. I sealed the box, tucked it away in a corner of my closet, and felt a sense of closure wash over me. I was ready to move forward, carrying only the lessons learned from my experiences. One sunny afternoon, Sarah and I decided to take a road trip to the coast. We blasted our favorite songs, singing along as we drove, the wind whipping through the windows. It felt liberating to be on the open road, leaving behind the remnants of my former life. As we arrived at the beach, I was struck by the beauty of the ocean stretching out before us. We set up a picnic on the sand, the sound of the waves serving as a gentle reminder of the rhythm of life. We laughed, shared stories, and sketched plans for the future, and it felt surreal to be so comfortable with someone again. After lunch, we took a stroll along the shore, the warm sun kissing our skin. I held her hand tightly. As we walked, feeling as though I had finally found my footing again. At that moment, I realized just how much Sarah had helped me heal, how her kindness and patience had allowed me to rediscover joy. As we paused to watch the waves crash against the shore, Sarah turned to me with a soft expression. "You know, I really care about you. I want you to know that." Her vulnerability tugged at my heartstrings, and I felt compelled to share my own feelings. "I care about you too, Sarah. You've brought light back into my life during such a dark time, and I can't thank you enough for that." Her eyes sparkled as she smiled, and in that moment it felt like we both understood that we were embarking on a journey together, one filled with hope and possibility. But as the trip continued, I noticed something unsettling. I still had lingering fears about opening up completely. The shadows of my past occasionally crept back in, whispering doubts in my ear. What if I hurt her? What if I couldn't let go of my previous heartbreak? I realized I needed to address these fears before they festered. I knew I had to face the music, so I decided to talk to Sarah about it all. One evening, after a particularly enjoyable dinner, I broached the topic. "Sarah, can we talk?" I asked, my voice slightly shaky. "Of course," she replied, her expression turning serious. "What's on your mind?" I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my vulnerability. "I want you to know how much I appreciate you and what we have, but I'm still sorting through my feelings from my past. Sometimes I find myself holding back because I'm afraid of being hurt again." She listened intently, her gaze steady and warm. "I completely understand. It's okay to feel uncertain, especially after everything you've been through. Just know that I'm here for you, and you don't have to rush into anything you're not ready for." Her response made my heart swell. I felt a deep connection with her, and I knew that I could trust her. In that moment, I realized that being open about my fears was a crucial step in building a future together. As the sunset painted the sky with vibrant colors, I felt a sense of hope, determination. I was ready to confront my past, to embrace the present, and to step into whatever future awaited me with Sarah by my side. With each passing day, I began to understand that healing was an ongoing process. I didn't have to rush. I could take my time, allowing myself to feel, to grieve, and to ultimately embrace love again, this time with the full awareness of my own worth and the strength to stand firm. As I looked to the horizon, I felt a sense of excitement for the journey ahead. I was ready to write a new chapter, one filled with love, joy, and endless possibilities. As the weeks rolled on and the warmth of summer began to fade into the cool embrace of autumn, I felt a sense of contentment settling over me. The healing journey that had started with heartbreak was transforming into a new beginning. I had faced the storm of my emotions, confronted my past, and emerged stronger. With Sarah by my side, life felt refreshing and full of potential. Our relationship blossomed naturally. We spent weekends exploring art galleries, indulging in spontaneous road trips, and diving into deep conversations that revealed our hopes and dreams. Sarah had a way of drawing me out, encouraging me to share parts of myself that I had long buried under layers of pain. One evening, as we curled up on the couch watching an old movie, I felt an overwhelming urge to tell her how much she meant to me. "You know, I really appreciate you," I said, my heart racing. "You've been so patient and understanding through all of this. I can't express how much that means to me." She turned to me, her eyes glistening with sincerity. "You're worth it. I've seen you struggle, and it's inspiring to watch you reclaim your life. I'm really proud of you." Those words wrapped around me like a warm blanket, soothing the lingering fears of inadequacy. It was moments like these that reminded me why I had allowed myself to open up again, to take the leap of faith into the unknown. As fall descended, I found myself reflecting on my journey. I decided it was time to address the emotional scars from my past. I scheduled a meeting with my therapist and shared my progress, my struggles, and my triumphs. I spoke about how I was learning to love again, to trust again, and to believe I was deserving of happiness. "Recognizing your worth is a crucial step in the healing process," my therapist said. "You've come a long way. It's important to celebrate that." Her words resonated deep within me. I had gone from a place of heartbreak and betrayal to one of acceptance and growth. I was ready to embrace life fully, to stop allowing my past to dictate my present. After that session, I met up with Sarah for lunch at our favorite cafe. As we shared a meal, I felt an inexplicable urge to take our relationship to the next level. "Sarah, can we talk about something important?" I asked, my stomach fluttering with nerves. "Sure, what's on your mind?" she replied, her eyes filled with curiosity. "I've been thinking a lot about us," I began, my heart racing. "I know we've both been through a lot, but I want you to know that I see a future with you. You've shown me what it means to love again, and I can't imagine my life without you." Her expression softened, and I could see hope shimmering in her eyes. "I feel the same way. I didn't want to rush into anything, but I've been falling for you." At that moment, it felt like the world had stopped. I reached across the table, taking her hand in mine. "Would you be willing to take that next step with me? I want to build something real, something lasting together." Tears welled in her eyes as she nodded, a radiant smile spreading across her face. "Absolutely. I want that too." In that moment, I felt a wave of relief wash over me, solidifying what I had hoped for, an opportunity to create a new life, filled with love, trust, and mutual respect. As the days turned into weeks, the connection between us deepened. We began to discuss our aspirations, travel plans, career goals, and the possibility of building a future together. I had never felt this level of excitement before, and I cherished the moments we spent dreaming about what lay ahead. One crisp evening, as we walked hand in hand through a park adorned with vibrant autumn leaves, I paused to take in the beauty of the moment. "You've changed my life in ways I never thought possible," I confessed. "I'm grateful every day for your patience and your love." Sarah smiled, her eyes twinkling. "You deserve happiness. I'm just glad I can be a part of your journey." That night, as I lay in bed replaying the day's events, I felt a sense of peace envelop me. I had weathered the storm of betrayal and emerged on the other side, not just surviving but thriving. I had learned what it meant to love and trust again, but more importantly, I had learned to love myself. As I drifted off to sleep, I thought about the future. I was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that I had the strength to overcome them. Life was unpredictable, but I had learned to embrace uncertainty. I was no longer just a victim of my past. I was a survivor, a warrior, and I was ready to write the next chapter of my life. With Sarah by my side, I felt hopeful for what was to come. It was a new beginning, and as the sun rose the next day, I welcomed the dawn of a fresh start, one filled with love, joy, and the promise of a brighter future.